I'm Kate Shockey. I'm the treasurer of the Institute for Global Education. Welcome to IGE Talks. Tonight we have Joy Murphy, who is a member of AARP, who is doing a program on how to vote and everything you need to know. The first thing to do is to register. And she's also a precinct chairperson in Grand Rapids and does an excellent job.
Thank you, Kate. I'm a volunteer with AARP, and I really appreciate the opportunity of being with you all today. For over 30 years, AARP has been an advocate for nonpartisan voter engagement, and that's been part of AARP's mission. We don't endorse candidates for public office or make any contributions. We're not a PAC, but we work hard to make sure that the issues that are important to seniors in our country and in our state are brought to the attention of legislators. And we strive to provide the voters with all the information they need to make an informed decision, because as we all know, an informed electorate is what we need to have. So to make sure we have a good experience, I just wanted to mention that we're going to talk about several different things today. One is the process for voting in Michigan, and especially here in Grand Rapids, and also then the issues that are important to AARP moving forward. Volunteers like myself are offering these voter engagement presentations to make sure that everyone is informed, all the voters have an opportunity to learn about the process and about the different issues that are in the election. This is really important to me personally because I'm very passionate about voting, and it should be a good experience for everyone who comes into a precinct. And it's one of the reasons why I became a precinct worker, and it's why I am a precinct chairperson. I think it's really important. It's the most important thing we can do as citizens, is to make sure we always vote. So the first thing I'd like to hand out is an information sheet about voting in Michigan. On here, there's several things I'd like to bring to your attention. If you can pass these around. Okay.
And also, we will have these available at the Institute for Global Education office at 1118 Wealthy for anyone who wants to pick one up next to the Wealthy Theater.
Great, that would be wonderful. So a couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention on this. 66% of the people who vote in Michigan are over the age of 50. So we're a very important, seniors are a very important voting bloc for the state, and the elected officials know that. In order to vote, you do need to be a U.S. citizen and have to be at least 18 by election day. But if you are if you're in that gray period between the October 11th deadline and election date, please register to vote, and you can do that as long as your birthday is before election day. You have to be a resident of Michigan and a resident of the city or township where you're going to be voting.
Could I ask a question about
Sure.
that? I also, besides IGE board, I serve on the Micah Center Beyond Prisons Working Group.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the issues we're concerned about, not so much in Michigan, but elsewhere, there are 20 states that do not allow convicts to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And when they leave prison, they're still barred from voting.
Mm-hmm.
What's Michigan's law regarding convicts or ex-cons?
So, and there's a note about that, but having a felony record does not prohibit you from voting in Michigan. In fact, you can get an absentee ballot if you're in prison waiting arraignment. So the only person you can't vote, the only time a person cannot vote is during the time when you're actually serving your sentence. But, and that brings up a really good point, because a lot of us get our information from national news sources, and voting laws are very specific from state to state. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to speak with you today, was to make sure that everyone understands what the rules are in Michigan, because I feel they're very just and fair, and we don't have all of the issues that are in some of the other states at this time. In the green section, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Good.
Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome. In the green section, I wanted to make note of the straight party voting issue, and that has not been decided definitely, but as you may know, let me give you a little background to that. The legislator passed a law earlier this year to ban straight party voting, and several organizations challenged that and took the state to court, and the decision came down that that was not a constitutional law. And then the state challenged that and took it up another level. And today, a ruling came down from the full 6th Federal Appeals Court, I believe is what it's called, stating that it is that straight party voting can happen in Michigan. And so this will all be decided by the 9th of September. The last course would be if the Attorney General wanted to take it to the Supreme Court, they would have to make a ruling by the 9th of September. So I think that chances are pretty good that we're going to be able to vote straight party for this November's election. And that's it's good news for several reasons, but one is that because the ballots are so long in these federal elections, to any way to shorten it and have people have to darken in fewer circles is always a good thing. So that would be another thing to think about. Let's see here. Oh, another thing in the yellow section, there also was something which I didn't realize, but I understand that there are people who don't like to vote because they're afraid that the jury pool is made up out of people who vote, and that's not true. The jury pool for jury duty is made up of people who have driver's licenses. So so that should not ever hinder someone from voting. The next section is, and if you do have questions, just let me know. The next section is about absentee voting. And if you're a registered voter, to get an absentee ballot, you need to apply to the city clerk's office. In the city of Grand Rapids, you can call 311 and ask for the city clerk's office and tell them you want an absentee ballot, and they'll send you the application material. And the way that it works is they send you an application, you sign off that you need an absentee ballot because you don't think you're going to be, or you might not be around on election day. And then you send it back, and then they send you a ballot, and you get it well before the election. You can get it completed at your own leisure. And I really recommend that, if at all possible, to apply for that, because this ballot is going to be so lengthy. And that way it will help alleviate some of the crowds that we'll end up with on election day. And so that is something unique to Grand Rapids, though, to be able to just call the clerk and they'll take care of it.
So just to clarify,
Yeah.
you said call 311?
Yes, 311 is the number for the city of Grand Rapids, any place within the city, and you'll get the city offices. For example, you can find out about trash. You can find out, and what they do is that they're a clearinghouse, and they'll give you information or get you to the right department within the city.
And if I'm in the
Yeah.
city of Kentwood, I can't use 311, but I can call the clerk's office.
Well, you'd have to, if you live in Kentwood, you'd need to call the Kentwood or township clerk.
City.
City clerk, yes, I'm sorry, city clerk, yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because, yeah, 311 is a relatively new process, but.
Okay.
It's to make 911 not have as many problems, so that people, if there's something that's not an emergency, you can call 311 and they can get you in touch with the person who should be able to help you.
Right, or they do like potholes and things like that.
People-
Lights out.
Lights up. People who don't
water
shovel their
bills.
Yeah.
sidewalks.
Yeah.
What are the hours that you can call 311?
I don't know. I think they're open till at least 7 or 8 at night. They're not open 24/7.
Yeah, and that's different from 211, which is countywide.
That's
Right, and
a
And
that's
if you
city
needed
service.
some social service
Social
of any
service,
sort,
right.
you could call 24/7 and get help.
Yeah.
Or be referred to the right agency or whatever,
Yeah.
which is nice to know. Yeah.
Yeah, they're great resources. So then, everybody's registered to vote, and then on election day, if you decide to come into the polling place, we'll be there from 7 in the morning until 8 at night. And if there is a crowd and there is a line at 8 o'clock, anyone who's in line at 8 o'clock will be able to vote. Don't be concerned if you see a line. By all means, get in line. That's for sure. We're hoping the lines will go quickly. In Michigan, you have to show your photo ID if you have it with you, or if you don't have your photo ID with you, or you don't have photo ID, you need to sign an affidavit saying that you don't have your photo ID with you. And
I have a question about that.
okay,
Okay, they say your photo ID,
yes,
okay, but the only thing they will accept is a state of Michigan ID.
No.
Or a driver's license. Now, I presented a faculty retirement ID with my picture on it, certified by the college, and just to check it out, and they said, no, you can't use that. Well, it's a photo ID and it's an official ID. Had I been a student, they would have accepted it.
so the.
Well, students can use a student ID.
On the
but-
back, there's a list of what is acceptable.
So
Yeah. Well, yeah.
the situation about IDs is if for some reason you had an ID that wasn't acceptable, you still can vote. That's the part I want to emphasize
Right.
is
Please
you
do.
can vote even if you don't have your photo ID with you because you just sign the affidavit on the back. And an election worker should never propose that that's any hindrance to voting, because you can vote whether you have an ID with you or not. The only
And
time you
I
have to.
challenged this with the voting people,
Mhm.
and they said, we won't accept your college, retiree faculty ID. And I says, well, okay, then what? And they didn't tell me, well, you just signed the back here,
Then see-
affirming that you are who you are.
So, right, and so I would, if that ever happens to you again, I would lift that concern up to the clerk, the city clerk, because that's not the way election law is written. And you need, unfortunately, not all election workers are on the
Well,
right part of the program.
I did bring it up
But-
with the city clerk at a Senior Advocates of Kent County meeting. And she said, and I went up to her with my ID and said, would this be acceptable? She said, no, it won't be. I said, well, then what you're saying is you must have a driver's license with the state of Michigan or an acceptable state ID picture. No other pictures will be accepted.
Or a
So-
passport.
so-
Which isn't true, because I know they have to accept student ID.
They do.
So we do have a problem here, and I kind of resent, I'm registered, I have a
Sure.
precinct registration thing, I have a signature
But did
ballot
they-
that I
but-
used to sign in with, and they don't do that anymore.
But did they offer you the affidavit?
No, I said, well, then I'd like to do the sign the back of the thing. And
Yeah,
oh,
right,
oh,
right.
yeah,
That's what
oh,
the
yeah.
affidavit is,
Oh,
yeah. So then it's moot. It's
Yeah,
moot
I
at
know,
that point.
I
But
know.
the
I
other
had-
part of
I had to
it,
bring it up, because I
Right.
was standing there waiting for them to
Yeah.
suggest it, and they didn't do it.
they didn't, yeah. No, and that's unfortunate, because it's very clear that Michigan state law is that if you don't have a photo ID, that is an option. Now, the only time that you are required to have a photo ID is when you register to vote the very first time. And and then they will accept even pretty much almost anything with a picture on it at the Secretary of State's office. Even, because I read this today, even a credit card that has your picture on it. As long as it has your name and it matches the picture.
Amazing.
So, yeah, and that's on the state website.
But when you go to vote, that doesn't work.
Well, it would depend on, if you voted at my precinct, it would, because that's what the state law is, all you do is sign the affidavit on the back.
Well, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
But they
that's
would
how there's
accept
to
the
it.
ID.
Yeah,
the
well,
picture
the
ID.
one time they won't accept the affidavit is you say, I have my ID and I won't show it to you.
Yeah, but that's kind of a
That's a
separate
sort-
issue
that's a
altogether.
separate issue.
Yeah, yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
So, now and the other thing I wanted to,
Well, the reason I bring this up because, you know, a man comes out of prison, like I have a friend coming out of prison here, any day now, okay? And he may or may not be issued a state ID.
right,
He will not have an up-to-date Michigan driver's license,
right.
and he may want to register to vote in the next election.
So that,
How's he going to do it? I mean, you know, all he's got is a paper that says he was released from prison.
So there are things to be done in that situation. They are delineated very clearly on the state website. And I would call the city clerk where he lives to make sure you have the exact requirements. But there are very specific requirements for that kind of situation for registering to vote. And he should be able to vote no problem.
Okay, you know, and, you know, I think these people need to know this because
Yes.
there's so much misinformation out there from one state to another.
Exactly,
Thank
exactly.
you for
You're welcome. You're
clarifying.
very welcome. And the state website, Michigan.gov, under the Secretary of State section, has very clear election procedures, and also the municipalities do too. I know the city of Grand Rapids has a very, very extensive election information on their website for the city clerk. So, okay, so do I have any other questions about voting in Michigan and what we're gonna do on election day?
I think one thing is that if you are registering for the first time and you have to go, you cannot do an absentee ballot, you have to go to the poll in person.
Right, and then you'd have to show some kind of an ID, but
Yes.
there's still, even then, there are workarounds to what the most current kinds of ID are.
I received a mailing today, and I sent it on to some of our people, that a study was done, and they said that minorities are forced to take twice as much time to vote as other people, majorities, okay? And I know in the city of Grand Rapids, that's a problem. We had some voting booths or polls in the last election where the people were lined up at 8 o'clock at night. And they were allowed to vote, but they had to stay there till 9. And they just had way too many people assigned to that precinct to take care of their voting needs.
Yeah.
And this is pretty common.
So in the city of Grand Rapids, because that's the only thing I can speak to, since that election, there have been many, many changes in the process of how elections work and also in the amount of personnel that we're going to be having in each of the polling places and all the other technology that we'll have available in each of the polling places. So I would hesitate to, I wouldn't promise it, but I am sure the voting experience for most voters in Grand Rapids are going to be much better than they were 4 years ago. And because the staff, both the hired staff and us part-time people that work in precincts have changed. There's been so many changes to the processes over the last 4 years that it can only end up being a much smoother process for each individual voter. And I know that's the goal of the city clerk and of all of the clerks, is to have it a good experience for the voters. So
We also
hopefully that'll be great.
now have the e-poll book, where rather than looking into a book and doing a sticker, we can just look on the computer, which is not connected to the internet, and find out if you're registered. And also, if you're not registered in our precinct, we can tell you where you can go.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because another thing I would recommend for all voters would be to look on the state website to see what it shows as being both your address to make sure it's current, but also which precinct you're in, where your voting places are. Some of them have changed over the last 4 years, or since the last time you may have voted. And that information, along with what district you're in and which of the state house districts you're in, all of that is noted on that state website, and you just have to put your name and birthday in there and it pops right up. So.
Also, talking about ID, the card you get telling you where you're registered is not an ID, and you don't need to bring it. It's just an informational only. It tells you the precinct, the district, where you're registered, but it's informational, it's not something you need for voting.
You used to have it.
Yeah.
You had
But
to
you
have
don't
that,
now.
and your signature, not your picture, but your signature was your guarantee.
Yep, not anymore.
That hasn't been
Mm-mm.
current, not for a
No.
long time now.
No, yeah, it changed quite a while.
But there's a lot of problems with people getting certifiable ID.
Yeah.
And again, the poor
That's-
people have more difficulties.
Well, and that's why in Michigan, the fact that we have the affidavit means that's not an issue. Because
That's important.
it's very, very important for people to know. Other states require ID no matter what, but Michigan does not.
Okay.
And so the affidavit is where you swear that you are who you are, and that's really important for us to remember, because those national news stories are terrifying sometimes.
Mhm.
So, okay, then, any more questions about the election process? And I'd like to lift up a couple of things about what AARP is working towards. I hope you've heard of the AARP's Take a Stand campaign during this election season. Take a Stand was, or has been, AARP's election accountability campaign for the 2016 presidential candidates and the congressional candidates to talk about Social Security in a substantive way and to inform voters about what candidates are saying about Social Security, because it's important to go just beyond the sound bites. AARP's goal is to ensure people who work hard and pay into Social Security will get the benefits they've earned no matter if they retire today or if they retire in 10 years or if they retire in 50 years. So to preserve Social Security for current and future generations, we know the system's going to need to be updated to reflect our current economic and demographic situation and the changes that our country's experienced since it was put in place 80 years ago. The rules haven't really changed much since then. The most recent Social Security trustees report projects that the Social Security Trust Fund will be solvent until the year 2034. But after that, if we don't make any changes, the retirees would face a 25% reduction in their Social Security checks, and that would mean could mean up to $10,000 a year per person at that point in time. And I know that sounds like a long time, 2034, but left on their own, Congress tends to wait until the last minute to do anything until there's an immediate crisis. And the longer the leaders in Washington wait on this issue, the harder the problem is going to be to solve. And then the less time that workers will have to prepare for the future. So it's important that the key elements of Social Security's successful program structure are preserved. And that's to have a progressive, defined benefits that can't be outlived, that have inflation protection, and have benefits related to the earnings.
Yeah, in fact, there's some proposals out there to expand these
Oh, I've
benefits.
got some, yep.
Are you going there?
Yep, I'm going there.
Okay.
So we need to keep the part that works and update and improve where needed so that we can get financial stability for 75 years and beyond, not just for the next 18. AARP's principles for keeping Social Security strong are listed on this handout. These principles are something that's part of the AARP, part of their core, really. They want to make sure there's long-term solvency and adequacy, and to reaffirm Social Security's fundamental character, and ensure the protections for the people that are most in need, and then to have improvements to reflect today's workforce, and ensure fairness. And so as you mentioned, there are many proposals out there. What AARP has done, starting with the presidential primary campaign, was to ask the party candidates for president what their plan is for Social Security so far and during this election. And I do have the information. They started early in the process, but I do have that information for the current candidates for president, what their proposals are. And then we've also been asking candidates during all 14 of Michigan's representatives to Congress the following question: will you take action to update Social Security so it's financially sound and provides adequate income for current and future generations? So we asked everybody that question, and so I do have information about individual representatives that we can talk about later too. This November, all of the state representatives are up for election also, and so that's what would be in regards to the state races. That as far as for the federal, all of the 14 different House of Representatives are the ones that are up for election. Our senators are not up for election this year. And we also have a state agenda about the AARP mandate too. Now, as far as the take a stand, I do have the proposals for both presidential candidates, and then I also have a booklet that gives 12 different programs, and I'll leave some of these here,
Yes.
so you have that
We will
for
have
your
these
constituents.
available for people who want to pick them up
Mhm.
at the IGE office at 1118 Wealthy Street.
Would these be
Okay.
available elsewhere too, post office?
How about
I-
online?
Yeah, it would be available, the information will be available through the Michigan AARP website. And so these are 12 different proposals. They have pros and cons, and the pros and cons were written by a representative from a conservative think tank and a representative from a liberal think tank to give both perspectives on each one of these proposals. And I'll let you read those at your leisure. Some of them are quite involved. As I said, I also have the information from each of the presidential candidates and what their responses were to that. Then the other thing that I also have is information about Michigan's, the AARP's legislative agenda for 2016. A couple of things we've done this year that have gone. The biggest thing we've done this year that was actually passed into law was the Caregiver Act. And that act, what it does is it actually it codifies how hospitals treat caregivers when people are discharged from the hospital. They are now, it went into force July 12th. So as of now, caregivers, the hospitals are required to identify who the caregiver is for an individual who is going into the hospital, and then they are required to give that caregiver any necessary training or information about that person so that they can give adequate care. And that was
This
just
is a real
passed.
sore point. With the Kent County Senior Advocates, I serve on the long-term health care committee,
Uh-huh.
and we've discussed this point at length. And there are nurses and so forth that serve on our committee who say, how can you take a lay person who's been declared a caregiver and teach them the kinds of medical things that only a trained nurse would be able to provide at home.
So, but prior to this law going into force though, they did not even have to tell a caregiver that someone was being discharged from the hospital. So it's probably not perfect world, but it's someplace in between,
Yeah.
But at least this way,
Well, there are some
people
wrinkles
have to
there.
know. I'm sure there will be things, and if not, and there may be there may be situations where people will find out they can't be the caregiver because they don't have the education.
Yeah.
But at least this way, people are forced to talk to each other about it,
Mhm. Mhm.
Let's see here. Is there does anyone have any other questions?
Well, the one thing on the voting is, what happens if you move?
Oh, okay.
Which is,
So
yeah.
if you move, you do need to make sure that your clerk knows that you moved. Now, and I would recommend you contact them directly. And there are ways on the state of Michigan website, you can change your address there, and there are places you can change it or you can contact the city clerk and they can give you guidance on that also.
And also that sometimes if you move within the city within a certain period, you can still vote at your old
Old precinct. Well, and that is one of the reasons I recommend that you get on that website right away and check it. And make sure that you know where you are registered to vote and where you can vote.
And to make sure that you have, if you've moved too far in the wrong place, that you need to make sure that you register.
Exactly.
What's the general rule that's followed currently for college students who are, say, attending college in a different city or whatever within the state? Do they vote in the college town in which they live, or do they vote in their hometown?
I don't believe there's any specific rule. I think it depends on the student, and if they are still consider themselves a resident where their home is, then they would just need to make sure they got an absentee ballot.
So they could do either.
Mhm.
They
I
pick up
believe
mail
so.
at the college, they pick up mail at home.
I mean, I really don't, I don't think there's any hard and fast rules about that. I'm sure there are.
That's good, because I had problems when I was a student many years ago.
Oh,
We
yeah.
talked about
Yeah,
50
it
years
used to be,
ago.
it used to be
And somebody said, well,
different.
you pick up mail at Western Michigan University, you're a resident here, you gotta join our union. I said, well, I'm already a member of the union in Grand Rapids, but, and I couldn't pay the traveler's fee, and they, they said, we think you're whatever.
Yeah.
And of course, the union wouldn't stick up for us, so we were kind of stuck.
Yeah.
We didn't play
Yeah.
in Kalamazoo. Yeah.
No, it's, we had at one of the elections this year, we had students who were registered to vote in other cities who thought they could vote in Grand Rapids because they were students here now, but they hadn't changed it. No, you have to vote where you're registered. You can't just vote any place you want to. So, well, thank you very much for taking the time, letting me come and talk to you guys today. I appreciate it. For over 30 years, the nonpartisan voter engagement has been a part of AARP's mission, and AARP and our volunteers strive to give you the voter information that you need so you can choose the candidates that best represent your views and values. We encourage all AARP members and the general public to exercise your right to vote. And thank you.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
as our sign says, the first thing to do in voting is to register.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the registration deadline? for this?
October 11th.
For this
October 11th,
election?
yes. Mhm.
Okay.
So we've still got quite a bit of time, and then the election is on November 8th. It's a Tuesday.
And we have a lot of registration forms here that people can come down and fill out, and we'll actually take them down to the city clerk if you're a Grand Rapids resident, and we encourage you to do that. Also, we're hoping that we can do a candidate forum, but we're going to need a bunch of money to do that, so we're asking people to help support Institute for Global Education. You can do it on our website. You can send up money, or you can stop in.
Well, I'm glad we had this discussion, and I thank you for your
Oh,
presentation.
you're welcome.
because
Thank you, Joyce.
You're welcome.
There's a lot of misinformation out there.
There is. And it doesn't help that every state has different rules.
You're right. That is interesting.
It is, very interesting.
I get the New York Times, and every day there's a different state has a different problem, and it's just, there's no consistency.
Well, I was getting reports that there were people waiting out in the heat in Tucson, Arizona, in long lines for the
Yes.
primaries. And I wrote my daughter about that, who lives in Tucson, and she says, well, after all, we're a sunny border state. And I wrote her back, and I says, but which side of the border are you on? We got to think about that, because some states are actively trying to discourage voting, especially by minorities. And some of the techniques they're using are very anti-democratic.
Now, I can personally say that if you come to our precinct, Joy does everything she can to make sure that people are able to vote. And she's very excellent on
We
that.
try very hard.
We try very hard, and we try to make sure that you can as much as possible.
Yeah.
There are some proposals out there to make it easier for people to vote. For example, why should just seniors have the option of absentee balloting? Why not make it possible for others? You know, people are out of, if you're out of the state or whatever, you can, yes, you can apply, but we could do a lot better by people by either extending the time, we could make it a weekend affair, where you could go anytime during the weekend and vote.
Well, in the absentee voting rules say that you can, if you can be over 16, then you don't have to have a reason, but anyone can honestly say they don't know if they're gonna be in town or not, because we don't know. I mean, and the clerk's office is encouraging anyone who feels the need to please get an absentee ballot. And you don't have to be 16 either. Anyone can.
When are those ballots actually counted, I wonder? After the election is announced?
No, the absentee ballots, there's a special team in the city of Grand Rapids, that's all I can speak to.
Sure.
But in Grand Rapids, there's a special team of election workers who only handle the absentee ballots. And they are in a secret location. No, I don't know where they are, but all of those numbers are part of the results that are reported on election night.
So the absentee ballots actually have to be in before the election?
Oh, absolutely.
It's the day before, isn't it?
No, by 8 o'clock on election day.
Or by 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
You have to take it down to the clerk's office.
Clerk's office.
By
or you
8
can
in the evening, by closing?
by the time the polls close.
Interesting.
And if you get an absentee ballot and you don't use it, you need to take it with you to the poll and turn it in and then do the regular voting. You can't take your absentee ballot to your precinct, but you can take it with you and turn it in and say, I'm not going to use it, and then they will give you a regular ballot.
And there are rules governing, for example, I saw a gentleman at a retirement home taking 13 ballots out the door with him. And there are rules governing that now. If he's going to people who are sick or ill or,
You
need
cannot
help.
take ballots outside.
Well, no, but if they were absentee ballots that he was taking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just has to sign it that that's what he's doing.
Yeah, and they have to say that they were being helped by
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah.
And
that's
but-
totally fine. If it's someone that you want to help you complete the ballot, that's totally fine. And
Mhm.
people can bring a helper to the polling place also.
Yeah, and there are probably people out there, retirees in assisted living or whatever, who would still like to vote, and they're still eligible.
Absolutely.
But they may have to, call their clerk where they're registered and request an absentee ballot.
Yeah.
And make sure it's mailed in time or hand delivered.
They send them out very early, so you have plenty of time to mail them in.
Mhm.
I think they come out almost a month ahead of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about somebody that is disabled and it's not easy for them to?
And that would be someone else who can easily get an absentee ballot. And you just have to call downtown and they'll mail you whatever you need. And there's provisions for people helping you, and it's very clear on the instructions.
I know on that day though, I know that they can do, they can do Go Bus and stuff, and I do know some organizations will.
Oh, on election day?
On election
Yes.
day will take people.
And then each of the polling places in the city, in fact, I'm sure it's in the state, have a device that will help people vote also. And that will assist people who have vision issues.
Hearing issues.
Or hearing issues, yeah.
Or in a
And it
wheelchair.
actually walks someone through a ballot on a screen. It's a touch screen. You can vote that way too.
Cool.
Yeah. Trying to eliminate any roadblocks to voting. That's the key, is eliminate roadblocks.
And Michigan still uses paper ballots.
Yes.
Yes.
But my impression is that they're destroyed immediately after they're put in the machine.
No, they are not.
I
They're
hear a
kept-
grinding sound like they're being
Oh,
shredded.
No,
No.
they're just being processed, they're not being shredded. They actually are kept for, I think it's 10 years? A long
Yeah,
time, a
in
very
case
long time.
somebody wants to,
So they can be
protest it.
recounted, If need be, if there's any kind of an issue, the Board of Canvassers would have access to them. So it's done very above board. Now, in the last couple of days, there have been reports of people are concerned about hacking. And in the state of Michigan, that can't be an issue because none of the voting machines are online. They're all independent devices. And if there's a problem with one, then the paper ballots are there and they can all be recounted.
Okay.
And also, if you make a mistake, like if you vote for too many people for one office, when you put it into the tabulator will say, you made a mistake. And then you have a choice of, and they'll tell you which race it was you made a mistake on. And you can either take it out and do a new ballot, spoil it and do a new ballot, or you can say, I don't care about that race, I want the other ones to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Wow.
Yeah. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you guys today.
Thank you, Joy.
Yeah,
Thank you,
you.
Very
Joy.
Yeah, very much.